Ever since I was youth, felt worthless, didn't matter. Now living at home, I am thanks to the people I have around me. I've learned the truth of Taylor and Elijah. They are all good people I can depend on. Overall, it is better thanks to coming up here. When I lived in Georgia, what they did to me, Elijah, and Ellen was very wrong. I hope they can for those things. It was unfair that occupation I couldn't be with them. I tried to be self-sufficient, but it was never enough. Krista having me with their drivers was asked. Anything I may have done to excuse for what they did. At the time, I didn't understand the difference. Appropriate punishment and inappropriate punishment. But now I do. I was treated poorly. I hope this Sunday will get some reflect on what they could have done differently. And I am safe and I can be who I really am hurt. Even after what they back into I forgive them because it's the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schindley. All right, stay.
Judge, and for purposes of the court record, I will have my office contact Ethan Tyler and ask him to send a photographic copy of that statement he was reading so it can go to the court record.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'd like to call at this time Sophia Gutierrez.
And if you'll come around. You want sworn?
Yes, please.
Ms. Gutierrez, if you'll come around, you look sad. As you come around, and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in a matter now pending before this court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may have a seat. Please state your name for the record.
Sophia Gutierrez,
Will you spell your last name, Ms. Gutierrez?
Gutierrez.
Thank you. Ms. Gutierrez, what do you do for a living?
I'm a school counselor,
Okay, and where are you a school counselor?
Roxbury Elementary.
Are you familiar with a child named Haven Gearing who later was called Evan Schindley?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, were you his school counselor when he went to Rock Springs Elementary School?
Yes, ma'am, I was one of his counselors.
Okay. I want to talk to you just a little bit about some things that happened while he was a student there.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with Tyler and Krista Schindley?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay. During the course of the years that Evan attended school at Rock Springs, did you notice some concerns about food related to Evan?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
His classroom teacher, well, he had some problems with food, and it came about when the classroom teacher said a lot of times when we had some behavior problems, it was all in relations to food. And we got concerned about the amount of food that was in his lunchbox.
Okay, tell me about the amount of food that would come to school in his lunchbox with him.
So, by memory, he used to come with like almonds in a Tupperware container that was like a salad dressing. Tupperware containers, and there were the ones for salad dressing. He would have like almonds in that. Sometimes some celery stick, hummus, but it was always a small containers.
Okay. And after Evan would eat, did he ever seem satisfied?
He was never satisfied.
Okay. Did you address, you and other members of the staff, did you address Evan's hunger with his parents?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And were there times that you had meetings with his parents and with the foster agency and DFACS related to your concerns about Evan's hunger?
Yes, ma'am, numerous times.
Okay. And I want to talk just about those meetings and the steps that you took.
Yes,
Well, Ms. Gutierrez, how long have you been a school counselor?
since 2016, which was like 8 years.
Okay. And have you dealt with children who came from backgrounds of food insecurity or not having available food?
Yes, we have.
And does hunger sometimes, in your experience, contribute to behavior issues?
Most definitely.
When you addressed your concerns with the Schindleys about the amount of food that Evan was given, tell me about that interaction between you and the Schindleys.
So one particular instance was he didn't have enough food, there was issues, and we gave him school lunch. And we called, I think I spoke to Dad that day. He didn't have enough food, and so we wanted to provide him with school lunch so that there was no food in the lunchbox. We're not sure, I think, and later on we found out he ate it on the bus or something. And so I called and I got Dad first, and he agreed for us to give him a school lunch, but then we later, Mom was upset that he's not allowed to eat school lunch. You're only allowed to give him what's in his lunchbox because it was on a special diet of some sort.
Okay.
And that was just one instance.
That was one instance.
Yes.
Were there other times where he was observed licking the bowl, trying to get more food out of what he had?
So on another occasion, during the lunchtime, the cafeteria side, because that's when he came in with the small portions. And one of the paraprofessional in the cafeteria came to report to me that he did not have enough food in the lunchbox, and so the little bit that he had, and she was very emotional actually, he was licking the Tupperware, the salad dressing that was in it, clean. But we weren't allowed to give him a lunch from the cafeteria, so she just reported it to me.
Okay. Now, did you, again, confront the defendants, the parents, with concerns about Evan not getting enough to eat?
Yes, we did, and it got to the point where I reached out to the caseworkers about it.
Okay, so you actually reported to DFACS that you
Yes.
had concerns about this?
Yes.
At the time that this was going on, was Evan in foster care with the defendants?
Yes.
Okay, so he had not yet been adopted, is that correct?
No.
Okay. Did you express concerns about his adoption to DFACS?
Yes, numerous times.
And besides food, what were those concerns that you had for Evan and his relationship with his, at the time, foster parents, Krista and Tyler Schindley?
So on one occasion, we had a meeting, IEP meeting, and during that meeting, it was a lot was going on, and during that meeting, Ms. Schindley expressed that everyone was being forced on her. She only wanted, not the exact words, but what she was referring to, that she only wanted the kids, the sisters, the twins, and he was being forced on her. And so after the meeting, I emailed the caseworker, and I said, please do not allow them to, and I thought I would get in trouble, but I was like, please do not allow them to adopt him. I don't think they love him.
I want to talk about physical affection with Evan. Did Evan respond to physical affection from his teachers and people in his classroom and stuff like that?
Yes, he loved hugs in the hallway. He was little, so he would always just run up and give us hugs all the time.
And to be fair, the years that he went to school with you were in kindergarten and first grade, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you ever given instructions by the Schindleys related to physical affection with Evan?
Yes. So after, I want to say it was after that meeting and the constant calls, and obviously as a counselor, I was the one making all the reports. I think it got to the point where I think something was said about I was interfering with the adoption process, because I would constantly reach out to the adoption agency or to the caseworker that was over the case at the time. And in one of the instances, I think it was one of our meetings, Ms. Schindley said that we were giving him too much affection at school, and so he had none left to give him when he got home. And so I was told by our school personnel or administrator that I was not allowed to interact with him anymore. So our other counselor had to, like, if there was any kind of meeting or any talk between the parent and that, or the counselor, had to be the one to deal with it because she reported me to the district office.
Okay, and were you and the other members of the staff at Rock Springs given strict instructions about physical affection?
Yes, we were not allowed to give him any kind of affection, so there were times when it was just very obvious. I saw him in the hallway and I couldn't hide, so I would still give him a side hug, and there were times when I would hide from him when I see him, so I would not to tell him no.
Nothing further?
Any questions, Mr. Carl? Just briefly, Judge.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Gutierrez.
Yes, sir.
You made 2 reports to defects about your concerns with the Schindleys, correct?
I know one specific one. I know Ms. Rice made reports as well. A lot of my communication, I know one specific one that I made, and that was the last one I read because I went back, it's been a while, so I was going back to find all my reports. So I have one that I can remember for sure.
Okay, but do you know there were 2 investigations done by defects? Do you know that?
What do you mean by investigations?
They did 2 investigations based on your
On report, yes,
report,
okay, yes.
right, from the school. And both of those investigations came back unsubstantiated, correct?
Usually we don't get all the information as to what happened. I just know that when I made it, and a lot of the communication was through email because we had a caseworker for him or wherever he came from before he came to Henry County. And so a lot of my communication was through her. But yes, we did get a lot of pushback from defects.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Step down. Sorry, next witness.
State would call Kaylin Carter.
When you come around, let me get you to raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in the matter not pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may see. Will you state your name for the record?
My name is Kaylin Carter.
Will you spell your first name, please?
Kaylin, C-A-Y-L-I-N.
Morning, or afternoon, Miss Carter. Can you tell us what you do for a living?
I am a private agency case manager for Families Foster Care Agency.
Okay. And are you familiar with Krista and Tyler Schindley?
I am.
Okay. How are you familiar with them?
I was their caseworker for 1.5 years prior to their adoption.
Okay. Were you in charge of the placement of Evan Schindley as well as his 4 younger siblings with the Schindley family?
Technically, that placement authority was with Madison County Defects. As a CPA agency, we do not have placement authority. We hold the license for the foster family, and we offer extra supervision and support alongside the department.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about some concerns that were raised at the time that Evan and his siblings were fostering with the Schindleys, okay? Did you begin to develop some concerns related to conversations with Krista and Tyler Schindley about their relationship with Evan?
Yes, I did.
Can you please tell us about that?
They repeatedly made comments to the effect that they did not want him, that he was a problem. I can remember several specific conversations in their home where they talked about wanting to put a label on him as a foster child so that everyone would understand that they are embarrassed by his behavior and that everyone would give the benefit of the doubt of that it's him, that's the problem. Lots of complaints about behavior, but not specific clarification as to what was going on. It felt a lot more like they were taking anything that happened very personally from Haven, and when we did offer support and resources, they were not followed up with sufficiently, in my opinion. I spoke to multiple supervisors with my agency as well as our agency CEO to intervene and have discussions with the Schindleys about that attitude that they had towards Haven, because I was very concerned about the comments that they were making.
Okay. And ultimately, what did your agency do related to the Schindley family?
We recommended against the adoption to the state.
Okay. And did you drop them as a foster family?
We did. They had the option of, we would not follow through with the adoption. My agency did not condone it, and so they left our agency and finalized the adoption to DFACS.
Nothing further. Oh, okay. Oh, and I'm sorry, you referred to a child named Haven. Is that Evan Schindley?
Haven is Evan Schindley, but I knew him as Haven, and he is Haven in my mind.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Any questions, Mr. Carl? No. Any questions, Mr. Yes. Maybe you may step down.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses?
No other witnesses, Judge. I do have a few exhibits I'd like to enter, please.
Have they previously been entered in the case?
They have not.
Okay. There's no need to put them on the document camera.
Okay. These are State's Exhibits S1 through S9. S1 through S6 are comparative photographs from his admission to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta on May 13th of 2023. And then there is a corresponding photo from July 5th of 2023 and a follow-up so that the court can see the difference that proper nutrition made for Evan. There are photographs of his face, photographs of his legs, and photographs of his bottom. State's position is that these photographs show the physical ramifications of the defendant's actions. F7 is a photograph of Evan now, so that the court can see how he's been able to grow and thrive. S8 is a photograph of Evan with his siblings now, to show that they are working on being able to establish some type of relationship despite the defendant's actions. And finally, State's S9 is it goes to the mental impact that this had on on Evan. And this is a letter from his therapist and psychologist to talk about the impact that it's had with the court. Let me to read it, or would you like to see it? Yes, sir.
S1 through S9 are admitted into evidence. Anything else?
Nothing but argument.
Mr. Crawford Hall, do you have any evidence in mitigation?
Just argument.
All right, you may argue.
Judge, with regards to Ms. Krista Schindley, we would like to make the court aware that Ms. Schindley has never had any kind of history with the criminal justice system. I don't believe she's ever even had a ticket in her life, but she was an active member of the community. She was an active member of the church. Since she's been arrested, she's been actively ministering to the other inmates in the jail. She's never been a problem. Judge, we would respectfully just ask for you to accept the plea. She does want to make a statement at the appropriate time, Judge.
No.
I understand that many people came into contact with us through this case and they were affected negatively. And for that, I sincerely apologize to every single person. I know there's people that I have no idea who they even are, and I'm very sorry for that. I'd like to apologize to all of our children. I I know the older children have family around them who love them, and I'm thankful for that. And I just pray that God would bring the right parents along to be able to give the younger children a wonderful life. I know that the love of God is able to do many things, and I'm trusting Him with our children, and I'm just very thankful for this opportunity to be able to apologize to everybody.
Mr. Mooney, anything in mitigation?
Much like Ms. Schindley had no prior record prior to coming into this, I've been continuously incarcerated since May of 2023. And this is a very tough and trying case. I mean, throughout all of this, there's not been anything that's easy about this case. As the court's even seen through the process of jury selection and just the one day of testimony. This was a soul crusher, so to speak. But with this plea, I'd ask court to take into consideration that the Schindleys have essentially eliminated the necessity for the children to testify to go through any sort of cross-examination or other hardship. Also, that we have essentially now taking what would have been 2 weeks of trial down to just a week on this, and they have come forward and accepted responsibility in this case. So I'd ask the court to take note of that. Mr. Schindley, I believe, did want to make a statement. So,
Ms. Schindley, please rise.
I don't think there's really any words really expressed, my feelings of just this whole situation where just want to be a parent and love kids, and things happen, and sometimes you wish you could turn back time and different things change, But I'm very thankful that, granted, I didn't get to see the images, and I'm glad that Evan got the help that he needed to.
You don't deserve to see the images.
I didn't. I'm just glad that he got the help that he needed, and I pray that they all get in the homes that they need to be in, and I definitely apologize for all my family and friends and everybody I've ever associated with that they've had to go through this, and all the people that I don't even know that's been affected by this. So, just my apologies, and just continue to pass the grace.
Argument from the state.
Your Honor, I've been prosecuting nearly 18 years, the majority of that prosecuting crimes against children, and never have I seen a case that showed the depths of human depravity like this one. The depth of torture that Evan Schindley lived through for years at these two hands is truly terrible. Our Constitution does not allow us to do the types of things to them that they chose to do on a child. When they go to the Department of Corrections, they will have rights. They will have access to dental care and hygiene. They will have access to toilet paper and running water. They will have access to food and medical care. Their every need will be met. And that was their job for Evan. When he was placed with them, he was only 5 years old. By the time he was 10, he weighed 37 pounds because they systematically took everything from him. They took food, they took his health. He went from being the 75th to 90th percentile in weight to 0.01 percentile by the time they were finished with him. This jury would have heard that This jury would have heard from the dentist that had to extract his teeth. This jury would have heard from the endocrinologist that treated him that the only thing that made him look the way that he looked was malnutrition. There was not a thing wrong with his body other than the fact that it was starved. He was starved with food. He was starved with basic necessities. Most distressing, he was starved of his humanity. Because they constantly told him he was disgusting. They fed him rotten food and encouraged the other children to laugh at him. They told the other children that he was gross and not to spend time with him. They encouraged the other children to call him names. They called him names. Dipshit, worthless, disgusting. That is what Evan Schindley lived with. In that barren room that the court saw, with the door locked from the outside. I know that the court cannot, in any means, do justice for what Evan Schindley lives through. It's not in our authority, and it is not here on this worldly plane. I am asking that the court do its very best to honor what Evan Schindley lived through, to honor what Ethan Tyler Schindley lived through, because what the court didn't hear from Ethan Tyler today is that he was used as a weapon against Evan, just like those younger siblings. He was required to enforce the rules, and as a child with autism, he did absolutely everything he was told to do. The time that he was cut with a knife, and he didn't tell the court this, was because he took a popsicle. Everything in that house centered around control, centered around absolute obedience to the word of law. Well, the word of law does reign, and it reigns here in this courtroom, and it reigns from that bench. I'm asking you, speak it. Speak the word of law. Nothing else. Thank you.
Mr. and Ms. Schindley, I've been an attorney for over 20 years. Much of that time I was a prosecutor. I've seen people do heinous things to each other. I've seen people with their head almost cut off. I've seen murders. I've seen child molestation. I've seen child pornography. I've even prosecuted a child death where the child was tortured. But as I sat here yesterday, I thought to myself, I've never seen human beings do what you two did to another human being. I have a special needs son who's autistic. God placed him with me as a blessing. Many people don't have the blessing to have children. There's probably some here in court today that don't have that blessing. And you threw it away. When Evan ran away from your residence, Ms. Schindley, and you were stopped by the police, you never even asked, is Evan okay? That would have been the first thing that I would have asked if one of my children were missing from my residence. And to sit here and listen to testimony where your adopted son, your son, was so hungry that when he was given food at the hospital and crumbs dropped into his napkin, he was so scared that that napkin full of crumbs was going to be taken away. And while I appreciate you not putting your children through this process and making them testify, you sure shown a hell of a time to show mercy on this. When I became an attorney, like Ms. Leonard said, where you took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Georgia. Under the 8th Amendment, I'm not allowed to impose a sentence that is cruel and unusual. I'm bound by that oath, and I'm bound by the Constitution. You better be glad that I am. Or otherwise, I would impose a sentence much like the one you imposed on Kevin. But that's beyond my authority. I'm taking into account the fact that you did not put your children through this process. I'm also taking into account that you have chosen to accept responsibility in day 2 of this trial, or day 2 of testimony in this trial. Had this case gone further, you would likely be receiving a sentence much higher than what you are about to receive. With that being said, please rise. Ms. Schindley, on count 1, criminal intent to commit a felony, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count will be 20 years to serve in prison. On count 2, cruelty to children in the first degree, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years to serve in prison, consecutive to count 1. On count 3, cruelty to children in the first degree, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count will be 20 years probation, consecutive to counts 1 and 2. You will have the following general conditions of probation. Do not violate the criminal laws of any government unit. Avoid injurious or vicious habits. Avoid personal places of disreputable or harmful character. Report to the probation officer as directed and permit such officer to visit your home or elsewhere. Work faithfully at suitable employment insofar as may be possible. Do not change your present place of abode, move outside the jurisdiction of the court, or leave the state for any period of time without prior permission of the probation officer. Support your legal dependents to the best of your ability. You'll have a 4th Amendment waiver. You'll submit to a search of your person, residence, papers, vehicle, and/or effects at any time, day or night, with or without a search warrant, whenever requested to do so by a probation officer or other law enforcement officer, upon reasonable cause to believe that you are in violation of your probation, otherwise acting in violation of the law. You shall specifically consent to the use of anything seized as evidence in any judicial proceeding. You will have absolutely no contact with the victims and witnesses in this case, including your own children. You will sign a records release which will allow the probation office to have access to all your medical, clinical, treatment, and work records. As part of this probation, you are banished from the Griffin Judicial Circuit, which includes Upton, Pike, Spalding, and Fayette counties. You will provide a DNA sample. This is an offense against a minor. You will have no contact with minors and not be allowed to be around where minors congregate. You will avoid alcohol and drug use, and you shall not possess firearms. On count 4, aggravated battery, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count will be 20 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1 and 2. On count 5, cruelty to children in the first degree, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, and 4. On count 6, cruelty to children in the first degree, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, and 5. On count 7, battery, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 12 months to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, 5, and 6. On count 8, false imprisonment, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 10 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7. Count 9, false imprisonment, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 10 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8. On count 10, aggravated assault, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. On count 11, aggravated assault, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And on count 12, aggravated battery, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Now, Ms. Schindley, you have the right to appeal this plea. If you wish to appeal this plea, you must file that paperwork within 30 days of the day's date. Your attorney will go over that with you. Ma'am, you have pled guilty to felony offenses and misdemeanor offenses. With respect to the misdemeanor offense, you have 12 months from today's date to avail yourself of relief under the state's habeas corpus act. With respect to the felony offenses, you have 4 years from today's date to avail yourself of relief under the state's habeas corpus act. Your attorney will go over that with you. Ms. Schindley, do you wish to withdraw this guilty plea and have a jury trial? That'll be the sentence of the court, then. Mr. Schindley. On count 1, criminal attempt to commit a felony, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years to serve in prison. On count 2, cruelty to children in the first degree, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years to serve in prison, consecutive to count 1. On count 3, cruelty to children in the first degree, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years probation, consecutive to counts 1 and 2. You have the following general conditions of probation. Do not violate the criminal laws of any government unit. Avoid injurious or vicious habits. Avoid persons or places of disreputable or harmful character. Report to your probation officer as directed or permitted by such officer to visit your home or elsewhere. Work faithfully at suitable employment. Do not change your present place of abode, move outside the jurisdiction of the court, or leave the state for any period of time without permission from your probation officer. Support your legal dependents to the best of your ability. You will have a Fourth Amendment waiver. You shall submit to a search of your person, residence, papers, vehicle, and/or effects at any time, day or night, with or without a search warrant, whenever you are requested to do so by a probation officer or other law enforcement officer, upon reasonable cause to believe that you're in violation of your probation or otherwise acting in violation of the law. You shall provide a specimen for testing at the request of your probation officer. You're to have no contact whatsoever with any victims or witnesses in this case, including your own children. You will have a records release or sign a records release so that your probation officer can get all medical, clinical, and treatment work records. You're banished from the Griffin Judicial Circuit, which includes Upson, Pike, Spalding, and Fayette counties. You will provide a DNA sample. Mr. Schindley, this offense is against a minor. You will not be allowed to be around minors or where minors congregate. You're to avoid alcohol and drug use, and you shall not possess firearms. Mr. Schindley, on count 4, aggravated battery, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1 and 2. On count 5, cruelty to children in the first degree, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, and 4. On count 6, cruelty to children in the first degree, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 20 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, and 5. On count 7, battery, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 12 months to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, 5, and 6. On count 8, false imprisonment, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 10 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7. On count 9, false imprisonment, the court finds you guilty. The sentence on that count is 10 years to serve, concurrent to counts 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Mr. Schindley, you have the right to appeal this plea. If you wish to appeal this plea, you must file that paperwork within 30 days of the day's date, and your attorney will go over that with you. You're pleading guilty to a misdemeanor offense and felony offenses. With respect to the misdemeanor offense, you'll have 12 months from the day's date to avail yourself of relief under the state's habeas corpus act. With respect to the felony offenses, you'll have 4 years from the day's date to avail yourself of relief under the state's habeas corpus act. Your attorney will go over that with you. Mr. Schindley. you wish to withdraw this guilty plea and have a jury trial. That'll be the sense of the court. You can take him out. Anything else we need to take up from the state before I bring this jury in and release them? Anything from the defense? All right. You bring it in.
Judge, I do actually have one request. I would ask that the jury be allowed to see the photograph of Evan now so that they can see.
I'll allow you to publish them to the jury.
Thank you, Judge.
I think it would probably be better, I'm not trying to tell you how to try your case state, but given the way the pictures looked on the TV, I would probably much rather them see them
Yes, sir.
in their hands.
Yes, sir.
You bring the jury in. All right, you may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I can assure you that we have been working diligently while you have been in recess. Mr. and Ms. Schindley have entered guilty pleas this morning to all of the charges. I have sentenced each of them to 40 years to serve in prison, followed by 20 years on probation. They also received maximum sentences on the remaining charges to run concurrent. They are banished from the Griffin Judicial Circuit if and when they come out of prison and are on probation. The court was willing to accept their guilty plea. They had the absolute right to enter a guilty plea at any time before a jury renders verdict. They chose to exercise that right this morning and to avoid any further evidence coming before you and before their children had to take a stand. These types of cases are hard on everyone involved, including jurors. And I can only imagine how you felt last night after seeing the evidence that you saw yesterday, because I felt the same way. That being said, I'm able to release you from your service this week. Again, on behalf of all of the judges of the Griffin Judicial Circuit, I want to thank you for your service. We simply can't do business without jurors who honor their summons and come to court. The state would like to show you some pictures of how Evan looked before and how he looks today. If you're willing to indulge us, I think it would better your soul. It sure did better now. So,
Thank you. This is what Evan looks like now. This is what he looked like
Ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to thank you for your service this week. You will receive your check in the mail from the clerk's office. It's a mere penance for your service here this week. In other words, don't spend it all in one place. With that being said, you can leave your juror notebooks and your juror badges with the bailiffs. You're now released from my order as far as conducting any research about the case, speaking with anyone about the case. You may speak freely with whoever you wish. And again, I thank you for your service, and you may now be released.